Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Another lovely hashtag, deck collector 15. And again, I did this the other way around. I saw Two Spirits response, and then I watched the Tiger's Abyss original video. So it's 15 questions. I'm gonna try to sort of not ramble on too much. It's about deck collecting. I don't really consider myself a collector, but I do have quite a number of decks. So yeah. How did you first start collecting? Well, I didn't really set out to collect, but I started with tarot, and I had 2 decks, and then I had 3, and then I got a couple, and then before you know it, I tend not to buy that many during the year, although saying that, but for Christmas I got quite a couple of decks, and there's been a couple that I haven't even touched yet. Well, I've touched them to like go through them, but not worked with them yet, so because I just haven't had the time. So yeah, that's how it started. How many decks in your collection? Now I had a check, and there's 23, which I know is quite tame for, you know, those people out there who've been doing this for quite some time, but I've only been studying tarot for just over a year, so I think that's not too bad. How do you add to your collection? Like I said, I buy or I get gifted, and yeah, I haven't traded yet because the decks that I've got I really like, or I don't want to get rid of. So yeah. Do you only buy one system, or all? I don't set out to buy different systems, but I just happen to buy them near. Most of the decks I buy are Rider-Waite-Smith because that's my main system. I did get a Marseille deck because of the March of the Pips, which I ended up not really doing because I just couldn't get on with it. I do have a couple of other Pippy decks which I don't really use, but I'm glad I've got them for sort of later on if I'm ever inclined to start reading Pip decks. And I've recently got the Sun and Moon Tarot, which I was told is a Thoth deck, which I didn't really know, but you know, so I've got that one as well, which is great because now I've got those 3. Do you use decks you collect or for novelty purposes only? Well, I try to use all of my decks, but there's been a couple that I haven't really used, and I feel kind of bad about it. But yeah, I figure like they might not be right for me right now, but they'll end up in rotation because I like to pick at least one daily draw for the month, and then the bigger spreads I'll do with another deck, and that's how I rotate my decks. Do you collect by theme? No. What turns you off from buying a deck? Price? Let's be honest. Some decks I can't justify buying. There's some brilliant decks out there, some really, really nice ones, and then you go and have a look and they're like ridiculous amounts of money, or the deck might not be that expensive, but the shipping costs is ridiculous. And that especially goes for decks on Etsy. I've seen so many lovely, lovely decks for like, that go for like 14, 15, 20 quid. And then you go and look at the shipping, and the shipping is at least the same amount, if not more. And I just can't. I just can't. So yeah, that's one. I have to like the theme. There's, you know, sometimes there's decks out there that I really don't like. The art style, of course, because if that doesn't appeal to me, then what's the point? I don't like collab decks, I like for there to be a consistent theme in the deck. And then in the question it also said ethical reasons, and yeah, the Dame Darcy thing, as the Tiger's Abyss mentioned, that really got me a bit, turned me off of that deck. Although I really do like the artwork, if you're going to steal from someone, don't be quite so obvious about it, maybe. What deck can you not seem to get rid of? I've got a pip deck. It's called, I've mentioned this before in previous videos, the Merlin deck. And I really like the mages, but it's a pip deck and I just can't work with it. But I don't want to get rid of it because, you know, it's my maybe someday deck. What deck has been on your list but you can't seem to make that step to actually buying it? I was thinking about that, and there hasn't really been much on my list that I haven't purchased. Like I said, I've just, like, over Christmas and my birthday are 5 days apart, so I get quite a lot of stuff. I got quite a lot of decks on for Christmas and my birthday. But one deck that has been on my list, and I've heard a lot of people mention as even their first deck, is the Osho Zen. And I don't know, I keep thinking, yeah, I really, really like it. And then I go, but there's other decks that I like more. Number 10, do you modify your decks? I do. I have trimmed a couple and I've edged a couple, and I want to do that a little bit more because it makes it more like your own. They're your tools, and if the borders are keeping you from working with a deck, then, you know, trim them off. I have seen people who actually write or draw on the cards themselves, which I have thought about doing, because sometimes when you trim a deck, it gets difficult to keep the title. So I have thought about writing the title on the card. I've also watched a video by Benabel Wen about the holistic tarot, which I'm about to really dive into, where she drew symbols on the cards. I might do that as well, but I haven't yet. And I've even seen people who have coloured in some bits. I can't remember who it was, but I've seen someone who, if you know the Aquarian tarot, it's got really pale faces, and she said that was keeping her from using the deck, and she gave the faces a little bit of a skin colour, and now she's found fine with it. So yeah. So I don't do it that much myself, but you know, it's your deck. You've paid for it. Go for it. How do you store your decks? I've got these baggies. I also just keep them in their own box or container, especially if they're in like a hard box. It's a shame that, you know, this is a US Games deck. This is Le Joie de Vivre that I used in another video that I just did. After a while the box just starts to fall apart, so then I put it in one of those baggies. The decks themselves I'm not going to show you because it's got stuff piled on top of it. I put in a double footstool because I'm still sort of in the tarot closet, and it's an easy way to put everything away. They're all contained. No one sees them who doesn't need to see them. And also we've had a bit of problems with water. We've had some leaks, and I think it's Kellyanne Maddox who had a flood or a leak. I can't remember what this happened quite some time ago, and she lost quite a number of decks because, you know, they got ruined with water, and that is a fear. So I don't have them out, and yeah, I keep them in that footstool. I know they're there, I know they're safe, and I know where all my decks are. Number 12, what decks others rave about that just don't appeal to you? I've not really seen that many, but I think the English Magic, is it English Magic or Magical? Magic, I think. English Magic Tarot. It's on my list because it's interesting. Because it has all kinds of things going on in the cards, if I'm right. Like symbols and runes and all kinds of stuff, and I think there's even cards that you have to look in the mirror to get some more information off of the cards, which I think is brilliant. Like, it's a really good sort of little added extra. So that appeals to me, but the artwork just doesn't. And then the miners have got such a weird border around them, and my first instinct when I saw those borders was like, I'll just chop them off. But you can't, because the the miners have got the border, and the majors are, if I'm correct, are a full card illustration. So you can't do it, which is annoying. But yeah, so that one, I think. I have it on my list, and I keep going, and then, but I don't like it. So yeah, what decks are in the mail? If none, what deck will you be buying next? Do you know what? I haven't got anything that I've got nothing coming, because I've just received the Sun and Moon Tarot just a couple of days ago, and I'm not quite sure what to go for next. I just need to see what mood I'm in when I'm in the market for another deck. Which I don't think is going to be anytime soon, but because, like I said, I've got a couple of decks that I got over the Christmas period that I haven't even touched yet, so I want to spend some time with those decks first. Aren't I a good little collector? Who's your favourite deck creator? They have to have at least 2 or more decks. I've been thinking about that, and I don't really look at the artist. Is that bad? Or the deck creator? Yeah, no, I don't really. I know Paulina, like, it's just because I've got it right here. Paulina Cassidy has got a couple of decks, but I wouldn't be interested in buying loads of decks from the same artist, because there's so many different ones out there that I'd rather buy something different, so that I can, so when the mood strikes me, I know I've got all kinds of decks to choose from. Yes. And then 15, what deck needs to be created to add to your collection? I would love a Walking Dead. I'm sure that's been mentioned before. Supernatural would be great. You know, those kind of sort of the sci-fi, sci-fi side of television at the moment. Yeah, that would be great. Or just sort of a really cheesy sitcom deck would be great. Yeah. Maybe a Once Upon a Time, which I know is a fairy tale series, but that's got so many characters that you could use for a tarot deck. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd be on that. Yes. So thank you very much, Tiger's Abyss, for doing this tag. It's been fun. I've really liked watching all the videos. It's bad for my wish list, but you know. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye.